Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be cosmic chefs, and we are tackling the ultimate recipe, how to build a living body right from the chemical elements up. So come on, let's get started.
Seriously, forget about baking a cake or building a computer. What if you had to start from absolute scratch? We're talking about the fundamental recipe for creating life itself. I know, it sounds impossibly complicated, but it all boils down to some pretty basic ingredients.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to go to nature's pantry. It's stocked with 92 different chemical elements. This is it. This is our complete set of building blocks for everything in the known universe, including us.
But here's the first bit of good news for our little cooking project. We don't need all 92 of them. Turns out, to build a human body, we only need to pull about 25 of those elements off the shelf. See? Already seems much more manageable, right?
So, let's dive in. Step one of any good recipe is to get your main ingredients measured out. These are the absolute non-negotiables, the stuff that's going to make up the bulk of our creation.
And when it comes to the body, it's really all about the big four. Just 4 elements out of the 25 we use are responsible for a whopping 96% of your total body mass. Everything else is kind of like the sprinkles on top.
And check out this breakdown. Our number one ingredient, making up a massive 65% of the body, is oxygen. Then you've got carbon at 18%, hydrogen at 10%, and nitrogen at 3%. These 4 right here, they're the true foundation of the entire structure.
Okay, so we've got our base, but come on, no chef would just stop there. To give our creation flavor, function, and life, we've got to add the spices. This is where the recipe gets really interesting.
And here they are, our essential spices. We're talking about stuff like sulfur, phosphorus, calcium for our bones, iron for our blood. You only need them in tiny amounts, but just like a pinch of salt in a giant pot of soup, they are absolutely essential. Without them, the whole thing just doesn't work.
All right, we have all our ingredients, the main ones and the spices, and now it's time to start mixing. But we can't just throw them all in a bowl and hope for the best. We have to combine them into 2 very different kinds of chemical compounds.
So first up are what we call organic compounds. And the rule of thumb here is really simple. If the molecular recipe has carbon in it, it's organic. Carbon is the star of the show. It's the backbone of all of life's most important molecules.
And then, on the flip side, we have inorganic compounds. And as you can probably guess, these are the molecules that for the most part do not have carbon in them. So think of things like water or salt. They're totally vital, but they play a really different role in our recipe.
Here's the easiest way to think about it. Organic compounds, with that carbon backbone, they form the actual structures, the bricks and beams of the body. The inorganic compounds are more like the plumbing and the electricity. They support all the processes that happen inside that structure.
And here's a little pro tip every chemical chef should know. There are a few interesting exceptions to the rule. So molecules like carbon dioxide or CO2, they technically contain carbon, right? But they're still classified as inorganic. It's just a little quirk in the Chemical Kitchen's rulebook.
All right, our mixtures are ready. We've combined our elements into organic and inorganic compounds. So for our final step, we're going to take those organic compounds and assemble them into the major structures of life, the really big stuff.
And these special organic compounds, they get their own name, biomolecules. That's the official term for the large molecules that are just absolutely necessary for life. They're the final functional pieces we're putting together.
So think of this as an assembly line with 4 main stations. First, we build carbohydrates, which are our primary fuel source. Then, we assemble proteins, which act as the body's little machines and structural parts. Third, we've got lipids, fats, which form membranes and store energy. And finally, nucleic acids, like DNA, which hold the master recipe for the whole shebang.
And of course, no recipe is truly complete with the finishing touches. We also need vitamins. Those are other essential organic compounds. And we absolutely have to mix in those vital inorganic molecules we talked about earlier. Water, minerals, and gases. They're the secret sauce that makes everything else possible.
So when you just step back for a second, it's pretty incredible. We start with a pantry of 92 elements, we pick out just 25, and then use only 4 of them for 96% of the work. From that simple handful of common ingredients, the entire magnificent complexity of a living organism is built.
And that brings us to our final thought. We've laid out the entire chemical recipe, all the ingredients, all the instructions. But from this pretty simple set of rules, you get this endless diversity and complexity. It really makes you wonder, What's the real magic ingredient that turns all these chemicals into life?